Tips for blocking out anything. So there is one mantra I keep saying to myself whenever I start a blockout. Keep it simple. No matter what references I have and what design I have for a client, I break out the design with simple forms. Then use spheres or any other primitives for blocking out. Now breaking out the design can be done in Photoshop or any other painting application, or just observing and creating a mental library to yourself. It also helps if you just draw over your reference. You are training your brain to perceive the shapes. I highly recommend you do this exercise. It will increase your observation a lot, especially if you are a beginner. Now for blockout, you can use any primitives. I use spheres for almost anything, and not just any sphere. There is one available in ZBrush with a good topology. So while having any primitive, press W, which will open up the 3D gizmo. Click on this gear icon and there will be multiple primitives you can choose from. Click this polysphere and it will turn any primitive into a polysphere. The good thing about this primitive, if you press Shift F, you will see the topology is very nice and it is a very good topology to use the move brush. And I use these spheres to block out anything before I proceed to actual sculpting. Now for example, this is the concept from Kavitha Jetti. Transitioning from 2D to 3D is often hard. So what helps me during an initial blockout is, while having this sphere, I keep duplicating them and just use move brush and smooth brush, trying to match the reference as close as possible. These spheres are low poly, which are easier for me to stretch and squash. I'm only thinking about getting the basic shape as close to reference as possible, just keeping it simple. As I said, the more you keep it simple, the better it will be to understand your own design. Visually, you have to keep it clean as possible. You have to see the silhouette all the time. Silhouette helps understand the design much better. For example, from the crowd of 100 people, you would recognize your friend from a distance. Why? Because you know about his silhouette. Human eyes see the silhouette first, so always keep silhouette in mind when sculpting anything. Another thing I want to mention is keep it low poly as much as you can. Beginners often make this mistake. They switch to details too fast. Remember, silhouette is the part of the design. It's the part of the primary shape. As long as you keep the big shapes interesting, your details won't matter. Spend much time as possible on primary shapes. Psychologically, there is a benefit in this. When you see the big shapes, it boosts your morale and gives you enough confidence to continue. Now that I have completed the blockout, these are just simple primary shapes, mostly spheres, but I could already see the 2D design in this 3D. Now I can spend 1 hour or more on this using move brush and smooth, or continue sculpting the secondary shapes. It's up to you. But now at this moment, it gave me enough confidence to continue with my model. So try to keep it simple as much as you can during the blockout stage. It really helps, especially to beginners. And if I press Shift F to turn on the polyframe, you can see these are just low poly spheres. And only because of that, I was able to use the move brush very easily. Third thing I want to discuss is how to use references properly. Most of the time when you find a reference, either it's a personal work or a client work, the artwork is mostly in a 2D flat image. Sometimes you don't have the turnaround of the same concept, so how to guess what the concept looks like from the back side or top side or from a side view? Well, study anatomy, and by studying I mean doing them. For example, for this donut guy, I searched stylized male body on Google. Either it's a fat person or a thin person, the body gesture would be similar, like this S curve. So I kinda guessed it and blocked out by thinking all these elements. It takes time to remember these anatomical fundamentals. The sooner you start studying anatomy, the better. There is a really good book I want to recommend is Anatomy for Sculptors. I have this book and it does explain in a great and simple way to an artist about what a human body looks like. You don't have to be a doctor to learn anatomy. You don't have to learn what doctors learn about anatomy. You are an artist. You have to think like an artist and study like an artist. The fourth and final advice I want to give you is to just be free. Beginners often doubt themselves and try to compare their work with the others. Remember, those others who you admire work really hard to get there, and it is believed that you have to sculpt 10,000 hours in order to reach the master level in digital sculpting. So get your hours started as soon as you can and start sculpting sculpting daily. At least sculpt 1 hour a day. The more you sculpt, the better. But don't skip any single day. Taking a gap between 4 days and sculpt 12 hours on a weekend is a bad idea compared to sculpting 30 minutes daily. If you can't, and just let yourself be free. Be hesitant free. On the other hand, this blockout technique is very effective. You could start with it, take a reference and start blocking out or study anatomy. Try to sculpt a skull daily or a head. Sculpt a torso the next day and so on. Get discipline in your life. The discipline will help you in your journey the most. Well, this is what I did during my 2 years of sculpting journey. I suggest you do the same. At least sculpt daily. Practice daily. Keep your model at low resolution as much as you can in a blockout stage. Keep it simple and readable. Study anatomy. Get discipline in your life and keep it simple. I hope you like this video. Please hit like, comment and share with your friends. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.